Oh, this deck is just way too hard for me. How am I ever going to remember all these combos? Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts! I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. As the boomers who grew up with Yugi and Kaiba enter the retirement home, and the millennials who grew up with GX begin construction on the 1,000-year Quirk Chungus empire, Konami has seen fit to start catering to the Zoomers who grew up with 5Ds. With Resonator support looming and finally an actual game plan for Akiza, things are looking up for the team. But the black sheep of the family has always been its leader, Yusei, whose Synchron monsters are in desperate need of a tune-up. Presenting Synchron. So here's the list from an 037 Wolf stream. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Raycon. I've recently become more busy than ever before, for some reason, and Raycon's new Essential Open earbuds have become integral to my new lifestyle. These earbuds keep your ears open while still delivering perfectly clear sound. Since they sit just outside your ear canal, you can stay aware of your friends, traffic, and crying children without sacrificing sound quality. They're lightweight and comfortable enough to wear all day without a fuss, sport a huge 36-hour battery life, plus they've got a secure fit. And of course with Raycon, they always deliver the same premium audio quality at a fraction of the price of other brands. I've been using the Essential Open earbuds while I'm out running errands, and they've really delivered. And as a heads up, Black Friday is around the corner, and Raycon audio products are up to 30% off site-wide. From everyday essentials to the latest releases, it's the perfect time to upgrade your sound or to get ahead on gifting. Click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/mbtopen to get 30% off during Raycon's Black Friday and Cyber Monday sale. That's buyraycon.com/mbtopen. Now back to the video. With that, let's slip into Synchron. Synchron is a series of tuners and their associated non-tuner plus ones that just haven't lived up to the hype. While individual members of the archetype have historically been powerful, quick draw, junk, there's never really been a suite of Synchrons that warrants its own meta deck. Their closest attempt was the print of Junk Speeder, a card that summons 5 Synchrons from deck, but unfortunately it was too much of a hand trap magnet for the deck to ever really be taken seriously. Despite numerous attempts at pushing these playmakers to playability, all we ever really got were some YouTube combo style setups, usually courtesy of the same guy over and over again, 037 Wolf. Until now! The most recently released Yu-Gi-Oh! Product, the 5D's Legendary Dex, contains 3 strategies corresponding to 3 of 5D's most popular characters. One of these is Yusei, and Konami correctly understood it needs some love if it was going to compete, so they printed like 8 new cards for the deck. These cards range from doo-doo bad to solves the #1 problem with the strategy, and therefore warrant a look. That said, I do want to drive home, this is a list in motion. There's a ton of room for changes, customizations, and splashes, so don't be surprised if these cards are just the backbone of a different build of Synchron a few weeks from now. Probably playing Mitsurugi. So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, 3 copies of Full Speed Warrior. Monsters who control the mentioned Junk Warrior or are a Synchro monster with Warrior in their name gain 900 attack during your battle phase only. If this card is normally special summoned, you can add a Junk Synchron or a spell trap that mentions Junk Warrior from your deck to your hand. After that, we've got 3 copies of Righty Driver and 1 copy of Lefty Driver, which I can guarantee you are going to open. 2 copies of Stardust Synchron, 1 Trail, and 1 Stardust Worm. If this card is in your hand or graveyard and you control a level 8 or higher Dragon Synchro monster, you can special it but banish it when it leaves the field, and it can be tributed to special summon up to 2 level 1 light dragons from your hand or graveyard except itself, but of course their effects can't be activated. After that, we've got Junk Synchron and Scrap Synchron, who for Synchro Summon can substitute this card for any Synchron tuner. If you Synchro Summon using a monster that mentions a Synchron tuner as material, this card in your hand can be used as material. And if a monster you control that mentions Junk Warrior or a Synchro monster with Warrior in its original name would be destroyed by a battle or card effect, it can be banished from your field or graveyard instead. Supersonic Chick has made the cut as well. If a tuner is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. Then if Junk Warrior or a monster that mentions it is on the field, you can change all monsters your opponent controls with a 1900 or more attack to defense, and you are locked from everything but Synchro Summoning. Looking at the extra deck, not going to be a problem. 1 copy of Rev Synchron and 1 Assault. For spells, we are on 3 Synchro Fellowship, and this card's just unbelievable. It adds 2 monsters from your deck to your hand, 1 Junk Synchron, and then a monster that mentions Junk Warrior or Stardust Dragon, then you discard a card. It can be banished from the graveyard or target a Synchro monster you control, reduce its level by 1, then you get an extra normal of a Synchron during your main phase this turn. We've got 3 copies of Tuning, 1 copy of Stardust Illumination, a Synchro Rumble, and then 1 apiece of Rhoda and Foolish Burial. After that, we've got 3 copies of Mulcharmy Fubulos, 3 copies of Ash Blossom Joyous Spring, 3 Droll and Lockbird, a Talent, a Called By, and a Crossout Designator in the extra. We've got Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon. This card is 12 stars, which means it pairs nicely with Crimson Dragon, which gets the Synchro Rumble, and Shooting Majestic Star Dragon, which shockingly this deck can produce. We also have a copy of Jurashin the Cursed Thunder Guard, which is frequently a part of an end board. This card was a real fantastic free agent for Synchro decks to get, and you'll see it in the games, but it does do work. Bestial Dispotter is a 10 to pair with Arms of Genex Return 0. These play nicely with the Crimson Dragon line. Dispotter, of course, is a negate, but also allows you to loop another card in here, Psyframe Lord Omega, and with Trishula Dragon of the Ice Barrier available as well, you can theoretically rip like 3 cards out of your opponent's hand while setting up negates like Arms of Genex Return 0. Ass Dragon is in here, but it's actually summoning Stardust Dragon a lot of the time. Excel Synchron, Herald of Arclight, and Martial Mental Marcher all help you extend combos, but of course we need to talk about the Belle of the Ball, Junk Speeder. If this card is Synchro summoned, you can special summon as many Synchron tuners as possible with different levels from your deck, and you are locked except for Synchros the turn you activate this effect. Now, this card has always been quite powerful for this deck, but unfortunately has, for a long time, just been a hand trap magnet. That's kind of assisted by this card, Scrap Warrior, which means that monsters you control that mention Junk Warrior or are a Synchro monster with Warrior in their name can't have their activated effects negated. Not many cards say that. If this card is Synchro summoned, you can take a Junk Synchron or a card that mentions Junk Warrior from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. In the side, we've got Solemn Strikes, Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, Evenly, Dark Ruler, and Perulia. So with that, let's check out some games. Our first match is up against DDD. DDD. The DD deck that never was. How many times were we told this was going to be tiered only for it to totally flop? Anyway, we're going first, and unfortunately our opponent has a couple of cards that are pretty good against us. We're going to begin with Synchro Fellowship, sending this worm to the graveyard into a Droll. That's not great because we look to add a lot of cards from deck to hand, but we don't have to. From here we can go Scrap Warrior, we'll send that chick, and then we'll activate the effect of the Fellowship for the Junk Synchron in our hand, bringing back the full speed Warrior and enabling us to Synchro summon an Excel Synchron. Back comes the Supersonic Chick. We'll use the Excel effect to send a copy of Assault, and then we'll make ourselves an Ass Dragon. Ass Dragon here is going to bring back the Scrap Synchron into a Martial Metal Marcher, and have you seen this combo before? We'll bring back our Excel Synchron and send a copy of Stardust Synchron anyway. We'll use its effect tributing the Martial Metal Marcher, and then the Worm effect in order to bring itself back. We'll use the effect of Ass Dragon into a Dominus Impulse, which is scary, but hardly the end of the world. We'll go Assault here to summon back the Stardust Dragon into an Illumination in order to special out a copy of Trail. From here, we can make a copy of Junk Speeder and summon from our deck a copy of Synchron and a copy of Rev. From here, we'll go into Stardust Dragon into Crimson Dragon, then Illumination to modulate to 9 before we activate the effect of the Crimson Dragon, ripping one of the last remaining cards from our opponent's hand, courtesy of Trishula. Let's get one of those out, then afterwards use the graveyard effect of the Revolution Synchron and make ourselves a Dispotter. Dispotter here can bring back the Assault, and from this position we can just make a copy of the Cursed Thunder God. This is a decent amount of interaction against an opponent with a 3-card hand. They'll begin with Kepler, and I love how Jurashin works in this instance. We gain life points every time they activate something, which means that we really get to rub it in our DDD opponent's face that we don't have to pay for our cool effects. They're going to go for the Count Surveyor, and then afterwards they'll trigger the effect in order to go ahead and grab a copy of their new powerful Pendulum Mommy. They'll make Gilgamesh. That's probably worth our Dispotter. We'll go ahead and negate that effect. Then afterwards they are going to set the Zero King DDDD Demise Machinex, activate its effect in order to grab Witch, then Witch effect, pitching this Zero Xerox in their hand, targeting the Cursed Thunder God. We will take the 15 here, blow up the back row, and that should be all she wrote. They do get to Divisored King Deus Machinex, but that's not going to do too much into the face of an on-field Dispotter. We'll use its effect to bring back this copy of Stardust Synchron, then afterwards we'll activate its effect in order to grab a copy of Synchro Fellowship, which we can then activate in order to grab a couple of cards, pitching 1 and triggering its effect to get another normal. We will do that for our Junk Synchron, bringing back Assault Synchron, and I mean, we can just do whatever we want from this position. Let's go Omega into Stardust Synchron into Trail to summon itself back, and make a copy of Snake Eyes Vengeance Dragon, pushing back the Divisor King Deus Machinex. That is sufficient to go to the battle phase and deal 8,000 points of damage. Sick stuff. So that's how the deck performs on the play, but what does it do on the draw? Well, unfortunately, it has a little bit of a difficult time chewing through an established board. Our opponent for Game 2 is playing Canine Crystron, and they have opened to Chaotic Elements. Really good card. They're going to go for the effect of the Yokel in order to summon both itself and this copy of Sulfador, which will then trigger. We're going to Fuelos into an Ash Blossom, so we are unfortunately out of interaction from this point on. One huge problem with this deck is it's so engine dependent that while it can play through individual stuff, it's hard to interrupt an opponent who is setting up, which is kind of a necessity at this point in time. Because we have activated the Fuelos, they can bring back the Lupus and go into a Ripper, activate the effect of the Ripper in order to grab a case for Canine, then a case for Canine their way into another copy of Izuna. Finally, they'll go for Inclusion here, get out this Tristeros, and go SP Little Knight, triggering the Sulfidor to pop the Inclusion and bring it back. That gets them to Elascelatus, which is going to grab them the trap into Triceros, which is going to pop the Elascelatus for a couple of 5s into the effect of the Elascelatus in order to bring back the Tristeros. Finally, the Nova, the Infinity, and I don't know what we're going to do from this position. All right, let's draw a card. That's not a bad one. They're going to go for Cluster. We'll go for Synchro Fellowship, and we do get a couple of cards pitching the Stardust Synchron. We'll begin with Full Speed Warrior. They're going to go Tristeros in response for Sulf into Dawn Dragster. That's horrifying. Afterwards, we're going to make a Scrap Warrior and activate its effect in order to send a copy of Chick to the graveyard. We'll go for our extra normal here. We do get it. We'll go Junk Synchron in order to target this Full Speed Warrior, and then we're going to go for an Excel. We'll trigger the effect of the Supersonic Chick, summoning it to our side of the field. That moves their monsters to defense, at least. They're going to go for Cluster and for Izana, which is horrifying. Afterwards, they will Izana and Lupus. We can call by the Lupus. That fiends out the Dawn Dragster. That means we are really in for a world of hurt momentarily. They will send a copy of Noroi, and then they will overlay for a Valon. Valon here is going to, tuck our monster. We contribute it for our Stardust Synchron, but they can go for the effect of Ripper and the effect of Forced Release in order to functionally wipe the board. We'll scoop it up. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's back on Maliss, and God, do I not miss this format. Look at this. 4 hand traps and a copy of Allure of Darkness. I mean, they are probably going to prevent us from getting off to the races, but who knows what they'll do afterwards. We're going to go for Synchro Fellowship here, get a couple of cards in rotation and go into a Scrap Warrior. We'll activate the effect in order to go ahead and grab a copy of Scrap Synchron, then use the extra normal here on our Junk Synchron, targeting this copy of Full Speed Warrior. From here, we can go into an Excel Synchron, use the Chick that's in our hand, and then they'll Nibiru the board. Okay, that's disastrous. We get ourselves a token, we'll set a copy of Called By and pass it back. They draw another Nibiru. I mean, are they going to go for it? They are! And they're rewarded. Chessy Cat is good enough. They're going to go Haggard here, targeting the Chessy Cat. And then afterwards, they can trigger the Chessy Cat in order to summon it to their side of the field. 2 + 1 is 3. They'll go Red Ransom and go ahead and grab their copy of Malice and Underground. That'll allow them to banish a Dormouse, which they'll summon to their side of the field. Then afterwards, they can activate the effect of the Dormouse in order to banish a copy of White Rabbit. White Rabbit summons to their side of the field, and on summon is going to go ahead and set a trap card from deck. They will get a GWC06 into an access code talker. They will access code target this Red Ransom. We'll activate Called By targeting the Red Ransom, but they can activate GWC to bring back the Red Ransom, which is pretty much all she wrote. They'll pop our last remaining monster, the Haggard Lizardoids, and then get in for 29 + 53. So it's time for game 2, and, well, at least our opponent doesn't have 4 hand crabs here. We've got a couple of cards in the grip we don't want to see, but we've also got a couple we do, including Tuning. We can normal summon this Lefty Driver and make a Scrap Warrior, courtesy of the Scrap Synchron. We'll bin a copy of Synchro Fellowship so we can get our extra normal, and summon out this copy of Junk Synchron. Junk Synchron here brings back the Lefty Driver, and then let's make an Accel Synchron. That's going to send a Scrap Synchron to the graveyard, and afterwards make an Accel Synchro Stardust Dragon. Ash Dragon brings back Scrap Synchron into an Illumination, summon to Trail from deck. Then afterwards, we can go ahead and activate the Ass effect in order to bring out Stardust Synchron and make a Junk Speeder. Here we're going to summon 3, a Rev Synchron, a Stardust, and an Assault Synchron. We have not yet activated the effect of the Stardust Synchron, nor have we activated the on-field effect of the Synchro Fellowship. So we'll do that, bin the Chick, and then go for Illumination targeting the Dragon. From here, we can make a Crimson Dragon, then use its effect alongside the effect of Chick in order to grab a Synchro Rumble to hand, use the Synchro Rumble to bring back Ass Dragon, and then ladder up into a Martial Metal Marcher. That's going to bring back Assault Synchron, which enables us to synchro out an Arms of Genex Return 0. That 10 is perfect for Dispotter into Omega. We'll do this line, Omega to banish 1, then Dispotter to bring him back. I think it's probably worth just making a Vengeance Dragon here. Our opponent's going to go March Hare, but bad news because I have the ability to shuffle your monster back. Not a profitable use of this card. We will put your monster in the back row, and now we are staring down a 2-card hand with 4 points of interaction. Our opponent's going to begin with a backup at Ignister. Wow, look at that Balatro grip. Then Typhon away our Dispotter. They'll surrender after realizing they just Typhon Eld. So it's time for that all-important game 3, and why do they keep these cards legal, man? All right, our opponent's going to begin with a copy of Malice and Underground. That's going to banish a copy of Dormouse. They have to go for a pretty risky combo here because they have very little that extends. They've just got the Wizard. They're going to go for White Rabbit afterwards and then use the White Rabbit effect in order to set from deck a copy of GWC. They'll go into Wick Kid into Wizard at Ignister, targeting this copy of White Rabbit. Wick Kid triggers here in order to grab a backup at Ignister into Red Ransom. We can Ash Blossom the Red Ransom, but Ash Blossoming anything against this deck just feels so bad. They'll go backup at Ignister here in order to grab grab, then pitch a Chessy Cat into Whitebinder, banish both the Red Ransom and the Chessy Cat in order to summon out the Red Ransom and trigger the effect of the Chessy Cat as well. That's going to get them a lot of link material and a March Hare banished, locked and loaded for next turn. They'll grab it to hand, then activate the effect of the Whitebinder in order to set an MTP before linking off for an allied Code Talker at Ignister, reborning the team from the yard. They'll set one card and pass back to us. We have some stuff that could contest this, but none under Anti-Spell Fragrance. We'll go for Full Speed Warrior. We'll activate the effect in order to grab a copy of Jet Synchron into a Scrap Warrior. We'll activate its effect in order to send a copy of Fellowship to the graveyard, then activate Fellowship's effect so we can normal out this junk Synchron. We'll activate the effect targeting the Full Speed Warrior, and from this position, our opponent's just going to start firing off interaction. MTP banishes the junk Synchron, so we'll set 2 and pass. Our opponent draws for turn, and this is all she wrote. They'll go Whitebinder here in order to reset this copy of MTP, Wizard at Ignister in order to switch my monster to attack position, and then Battle Phase they'll get in for 32, 19, 23, and lethal. So we're back with the deck, and whoo, this thing is tough. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, the new cards are great. They give Synchron a lot of consistency and new lines. Synchro Fellowship gives the deck a 1.5 card combo in multiple ways. The full kit put together allows the deck to make plays to bait interaction, or just protect and insulate your junk speeder to guarantee it resolves. 2, the deck still puts out an unbeatable board. It throws out a fair amount of Omnis with follow-up in the graveyard for next turn, or can just hand rip. And 3, the deck has toolbox flexibility in both engine and extra deck. You can build around generic synchros, allowing you to tune the deck for whatever the format needs, if you'll pardon the pun. And the cons. 1, Bualos is almost impossible to play through. It takes a lot of summons to build anything substantial, and due to the low non-engine count, your hands are often full of engine. 2, it can feel hard to break through the higher ceiling established boards in the metagame. Now, there's not a ton of them. A lot of decks like Branded Dracotail are just looking to play a little more mid-rangey with layered points of interaction, but an uninterrupted Yummy board can get pretty ridiculous, and this really has a tough time pushing through. And 3, it's hard. There's a lot of lines and technical play to learn. The deck is also very flexible at multiple points during its combo, so pilot skill is going to be a massive factor if you pick this thing up. All in all, this is the best that Synchron has ever felt. But in a format where so many decks can simplify the board state to mid-range, it's kind of hard justifying playing one that's almost all ceiling. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These videos are made possible by, and sometimes suggested by, my patrons, some of whom have paid a hefty sum in order to be mentioned at the end of this video. Those individuals are Absolutely Fran, Elena Tincher, Allison Elliott, Ally, APK Pearly Tier 0, Brett Henry, Cap, Cool Name, Damon O'Neill, Dark Rebel XYZ, DJ Elefante, El Gravo, El Securt, Emiliano Deverio, NB Adams, Fabrizio Petroli, Franco Romero, Galactic Joey, Hergalicious, JP, Night Mary, Cole Offline, Corey Mizu, Legal Rights, Lucas Rosas, Luis Hernandez, Master Key 090, Matthew M. Derezo, MBT Hablando en Español, MBT Plema Dolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nancho, Pombo, Project Mercury, Pyramid Artisan Field Cloths, TCG Accessories, Rancer My Thing, Rohan Doge, Rose Lapine, Serpentax, Shifter.mp8, Sly Ninja 43, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Who's Nick, Yuki Kazami, and Zircon Sun. Couldn't have done it without you.